What's up guys, and welcome back to Drawditions. As you saw in the title, today's video is going to be my submission into the Popcross Ultimate Design Challenge. Now, at the time that this video releases, the video in which he reveals the winners will have already come out, and I know that I was not one of those winners. However, I was still super happy with how this design came out, and figured I should share it with you guys. Also, I really need to get a video out because it's been a long time since I uploaded, and I do apologize for that, and I can't explain. So, as I stated in the last video, if you saw that one, I injured my hand, I sliced it up on some glass, and I wasn't able to draw for like 3 or so weeks, a little over. Now, it's been more than 3 weeks, so why haven't I uploaded? Well, around the same time I sliced my hand open, school started, which meant I had a ton of work now, and on top of my hand being injured, it was just too much to make videos, and it also took me a little while after my hand recovered to get back to my full drawing abilities. So that's why it took a while. I'm sorry, but now things have slowed down enough and I'm back in better drawing condition, so I figured it was a good time to post this video. Now I'll go into talking about the design. Now, one thing you guys probably noticed is at the start of the video, I had already drawn up a pose, and you're gonna actually see that a few times in this video where something just kind of magically appears. And the reason for that is, this drawing took me a long time because I really wanted it to be good for a few reasons. One, it was for a competition, so I wanted to put my best effort in for that. But two, it's my first video back, so I felt like it should be better than my usual stuff, so I put more time into it, and the video ended up being longer than usual, so I had to cut a bunch out. And I figured the repetitive parts, because I spent at least 30 minutes on just drawing the pose alone, so I figured I would cut that part out and just put this in. And again, you'll be seeing that with a few other things. For example, when I go in and change her sword design, I'm pretty sure it just magically appears with a new sword. But anyway, ignoring the random jumps because there will be a lot of them, I will now get into talking about the design. So I actually really love this design and the challenge it came from. So the goal of the Popcross original challenge is to take 3 characters that you either just really like as characters or really like their design and fuse them together in whichever way you see best. Now, the 3 characters I ended up choosing were Rayla from the Dragon Prince, a Spartan, and I believe I love Halo lore, but I'm not super familiar with, I've never actually played Halo games because I've never had an Xbox, so I'm not the best at recognizing which armor is which, so I actually don't know what kind of Spartan this is. I think it's a Spartan 3, but I'm not sure. But I wanted a Spartan armor, and I also took Apollyon from For Honor. And Apollyon is also just Warmonger, in case if you've never done the campaign and don't know the lore of For Honor and only know the characters, she's Warmonger. And I felt like these characters would create this really cool kind of sci-fi knight assassin hybrid, and I was so right. I feel like they fused excellently. I added a ton of cloth aspects to the design, which were mostly taken from Rayla, along with her horns and hair. But with the hair, instead of just having it be normal hair, I used the plume from Apollyon. Now, I don't know I can't actually remember if the picture I used of Apollyon, which I'll be able to see it in a little bit probably when it comes back up on the screen, but I can't remember if the picture of Apollyon I used actually has a plume, but there are Warmonger helmets that have a plume, so I included that. And I think Apollyon has a plume, but it's been a little while since I've looked at her design. And I did create this wasn't part of the challenge, so I didn't think about this super hard, But I did come up with some lore for how these three characters could be realistically merged. But I'm going to talk about the design for a little bit longer before that, just so I can kind of detail where every little bit of aspect came in. So, as you can probably see, for general design of the armor overall, I went for a very knightly armor, just as a overall design choice, which was obviously mostly Apollyon, as was the sword. Although I did try to merge Apollyon and Rayla's swords, it didn't really end up working very well, so I just kind of got a weird curved longsword thing. But most of the armor is inspired by Apollyon's armor with sci-fi aspects from the Spartan. However, there are a few areas of the armor that are distinctly Spartan, those being the legs, which I'm drawing right now, and the gauntlet slash kind of arm bits of armor. But the chestplate and helmet are very Apollyon in design, and her color scheme ends up being more Rayla Apollyon influenced, although there does end up being some of the Spartan's colors pulled across the screen. And the design, sorry, I just lost track of what I was saying there for a sec. I think that's for the most part. I did add chainmail to one arm, and I know that's not... I probably should have found a way to make that look more sci-fi. It looks a little out of place, but I think it's fine. Let's see, there I am adding it actually right now. But now for the kind of lore I came up with for this character. So, one, I feel like you kind of need to know a little bit about the three characters in order to... You don't need to know so much about the Spartans' actual character, you just need to know a bit about the Halo universe. The Halo universe has something called the Insurrectionists, which are just humans, but that are fighting against the UNSC. And because of that, I felt that that made for a good pair with Apollyon, who leads the Blackstone Legion, with the Blackstone Legion being the Blackstone Legion being a splinter group of knights in the For Honor universe that's goal was to cause, well, insurrection and war. So I figured that was a good pairing. Now, Rayla's a little weird here because she's an assassin, so how did I fit that? She's an assassin. Now she's one of the main characters and as such a protagonist, so she's kind of a assassin who doesn't assassinate people. So that part of the lore doesn't... when doing the very brief lore I did for this, I tried to make it so that this character wasn't inherently evil and leaned more towards a neutral to balance that out. So now I'll give you the full lore. This character's name is Rayla, and she was born into something called the Moonkeepers Guild, a guild of assassins with the purpose of preventing wars from happening by assassinating warmongering leaders before they could actually start their journey of conquest. And as part of this guild, she was a skilled fighter from a young age, and was eventually taken by Oni to be... Now, because we have Rayla, I'm breaking the lore here for a second to explain something. We're assuming the worlds are kind of combined here, so elves do exist in this version of the Halo universe and just kind of exist alongside humans, so she is still an elf in this. She was taken by Oni at a young age to be part of the Spartan program. Now, part of the Spartan program is to have their memory of their previous, or at least for early Spartans, this isn't... I know this isn't true for Spartan 4s, and I don't know if it's true for Spartan 3s, but Spartan 2s did have their mind wiped, so we're gonna go with that. Had their minds wipes of their previous life. Now, Rayla was given the call sign Apollyon because, one, it was common for the Covenant, and especially the elites, to refer to Spartans as demons. And Apollyon wanted not just to be seen as a demon, but the demon of the apocalypse, in order to induce fear and kind of symbolize that she believed herself to be the end of the Covenant. Now, throughout her long career of fighting with the UNSC, and she eventually started regaining some of her memories because the procedure that wipes their memories was flawed. And as she remembers her memories, she is kind of disgusted with Oni and the UNSC for their methods of fighting. And she ends up leaving the UNSC, stealing the armor, stealing her Mjolnir armor, and going off to join the insurrectionists, where she creates the largest insurrectionist group ever, called the Blackstone Legion. But the thing about this group is that they are not only fighting humanity in the UNSC and Oni, but also still the Covenant, because Apollyon doesn't hate humanity. Apollyon doesn't want humanity to die. She just doesn't want the UNSC in charge anymore, so she hopes to overthrow the UNC and put in her own leadership, in which she will continue her war with the Covenant. Now, what this means is that she is kind of a bizarre character, as sometimes the UNSC will be fighting her forces and other times alongside them, because if she sees the Covenant as a threat to a human planet, well, she's gonna fight the Covenant over the UNSC. But at the end of the day, all she actually wants to do is essentially create peace through war, because if she's always on the offensive, then everyone else has to be on the defensive and can't attack each other. So she is kind of still trying to fight for humanity, just in a very bizarre way. Now, that's really all I have for the lore at the moment, and I might add more at a later date for this idea, because it's a cool idea, and maybe I could create, if you guys like this drawing, I could maybe make more stuff in this combo universe, this Halo For Honor and Dragon Prince combo world, which could be really interesting because we could see the integration of magic and technology. In fact, something I forgot to mention that I originally had planned in the lore was that Spartans are not purely a technological enhancement in this universe, but also make use of magical enhancements, which I would have added more reason for Apollyon to dislike them, because I would have made it dark magic enhancements. And in the Dragon Prince universe, elves and kinda humans too are very much against dark magic. So it would give her another reason to be against Oni. That's something I meant to put in the lore section, but I kind of forgot about it, so here's that now. Something else is, in case you aren't super familiar with either Dragon Prince or For Honor lore, when I mentioned the Moonkeeper Guild, that was a combination of the Moon Shadow Assassins, which are what Rayla is, and the Peacekeepers from the For Honor universe. Now, Apollyon is not a Peacekeeper. She's technically, I think she's a warden originally who starts her own thing, the Warmongers, later on. But I figured in order to play into the assassin role, I would make her a peacekeeper initially instead, so that it still played into the assassin combination. Now, I actually really like the shading I did on this one, because I found... So I do my shading on a separate layer, and previously I had just done solid lines for shading, and I mean that worked, but it's kind of harsh, and I didn't like it all that much, and I still could shade a lot better. I'm not saying I'm like perfect, not by any means. I'm not even close to perfect. There are two things I really feel I need to improve in my art, and if anyone has tips, I'd be happy to hear them. And that is shading and posing. I really struggle with those two things. But with this drawing, I discovered I've discovered basically a tool where I could dry brush, so I could spread my, almost like a blur tool, but it was more just me spreading it out thinner, so it became more, the opacity was lower basically, so that you could see more and it was more transparent, but it also spread out over a larger area, and I felt like it created a much better gradient and was just blended a lot more naturally, so I loved that, and I thought that was done really well, for my standards, at least. I also felt like I feel like I could have done more with the lighting from her sword. I feel like I could have put that on her legs a bit more, but I feel like generally I did the lighting on the sword and from her helmet pretty good. And the reason I made the light on the helmet a little more green instead of blue, which is the light that is actually being emitted, is because her armor isn't actually like pitch black. It's a greenish dark gray, and as such I felt it would reflect a little more green light when that bounced off of it. Now, this, if you look at the sword, it doesn't really look like... I took colors from Rayla's sword, but it doesn't really look like Apollyon or Rayla's sword, because I really struggled to combine them, like I said, and really just ended up with like a weird curved longsword thing. But if there is a sword in real history that looked like this, and someone could tell me what it is, that'd be awesome, because I have never seen a sword like this before, and I don't know if it would be practical. But anyway, this is about the end of this video, so I hope y'all enjoyed. Remember to like, subscribe, and if you want to see your own ideas in my videos, leave a comment. Bye!